Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Anton Cole. I'm an Albanian in London working with startups, normally right after they get investment. I'm embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some growth advisory work with a few other startups and some angels and accelerators. And lately, I've been helping some angels and family offices with their due diligence, um, their assessments. And I guess now the floor is yours. We can start with Ophir and then Visar, please. Can you hear us, Ophir? Ophir, you're muted. Right, let's go to Visar until Ophir is able to unmute. Visar, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here, Anton. Thanks for that. So yeah, my name is Visar. I'm originally from Kosovo, and I am one of the founders and the managing partner for a marketing agency called Waste. We specialize in the video games industry. We've been going for quite a long time, since 2006. It's about 80 of us globally, headquarters in London. We've got an office in Tokyo and more recently in Philippines in Manila. And we work with some of the biggest video games companies in the world. We've had an exit 2 or 3 years ago to a company, great company actually, Keyword Studios. So we're there. We're part of that group now, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, I'm here, and obviously I want to support Anton in his mission to sort of help startups. It's good to be here. Look forward to hearing what's cooking in the startup world.
Thank you very much, Visar. And Visar, do you mind if I put you on the spot here? How much did you exit for to this other company?
It's public knowledge. It was a maximum consideration of £10 million.
£10 million. Well, that's not too bad for a day's work. Thank you very much for that, Visar. Ophir, the floor is yours, buddy.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Take it away.
Okay, great. Hello, my name is Ophir. I am based in London, UK, in my 50s now. I own 3 retail websites where we invent our own products, manufacture and sell directly to the public and also to trade. I also own a consultancy agency that helps small to medium-sized companies with various marketing. My background is Wrigley's, the chewing gum company, where I've been in marketing positions, and then I've been involved in quite a few different startups. Took most of them from an idea stage to selling to the mass globally. Yeah, that's who I am.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you very much to both of you, and I really appreciate that. Now, an introduction to the room and how we're going to run this. This is Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 136th session. We've been doing these for almost 4 years now, where over 270,000 people have joined us through these rooms so far. The idea is quite simple. As far as today's room is concerned, we're here to help you grow your business from 0 to hero. Whether you've got questions or need clarity or ideas on user, vendor, client, partner acquisition, perhaps general sales, marketing, advertising, and branding, or growth hacks, or maybe go-to-market partnerships. There are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. Now, for those of you that are tuning in via LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there. So you would need to join us interactively here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only. And you can either click on the links that you see there, or simply go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. Find today's session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 136, and then click join. It's a quick registration. You'll then get a link to your email to join us here directly. When you're here, then you can type your question in the chat. I'll give you the mic and you'll ask our 2 brilliant, outstanding panelists that we have here today. Now, for those of you whose questions are not related to growth, save them for the other conversations we run. We currently do 6 regular events: Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, as you can see today, Thursday's fundraising. We'll have, I think, 4 or 5 investors tomorrow in the panel. And then we do 2 monthly ones, second Friday of each month, a UK startup legal one, and third Friday of the month, a UK startup finances session. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startup2scaleup.club. And actually, when you're there, what you might want to do is click on the WhatsApp icon at the top or bottom of the page, and there you'll be able to join our WhatsApp community. And one last announcement, if I may, before we get Visar and Ophir to give us what are their biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage growth, is that the competition for Startup of the Month for April, it's now live, and you can enter that via our website. When you go to startup2scaleup.club, on the menu there, find Startup of the Month, and it's quite a simple procedure how to enter. This is for UK companies that are for profit and that are up to 3 years old. What happens there? If you do become Startup of the Month, you'll gain exposure in, I believe we'll have 12 or 13 events in April. So you'll be featured like we featured Reggae Calm today. You'll be featured in all the sessions in April. And now, without further ado, let's start with Visar and then Ophir. What are your biggest do's and don'ts, gentlemen, when it comes to early stage growth? And by the way, Visar, you've been kind enough to support us for quite some time, so don't worry about repeating stuff you've said before, because as you know, we founders tend to make mistakes, the same mistakes over and over again. So take it away, please.
You really do. You never stop learning, don't you? Well, I mean, focus more on, I suppose, the doing part, the do more of. I would say, I know that building a personal brand has become a bit of a thing on Instagram and LinkedIn and social media as a whole, but that there is like a lot of merit to it in the sense of building a brand for your business, doing as much marketing, content marketing, producing thought leadership pieces, getting your name out there as much as possible, building a profile. Do as much of that as possible. And by doing as much of that as possible, have a think about how much you can actually produce, especially in the age of AI. So if you think that, oh, I'm going to be producing, I don't know, like 1 thought piece a month, or I'm going to be putting out 2 or 3 pieces of content a week, you should maybe have a look at the competition. And what you might find, even startups that are not funded, with very few people, might be doing 10 times more. So you really need to sort of push yourself and take massive action in that sort of area if you want to stand out. Whether you're going after someone incumbent, whether you're going an incumbent sort of business that's very established, or whether you are in a space competing with other sort of smaller companies, you should just try and outdo them in terms of the amount of quality stuff that you're putting out there that helps build your brand as a leader of that particular business or as a business as a whole. In terms of don'ts, well, I think pick your battles. That's a common thing, right? I mean, it's the most common thing. I do that. Yeah, everyone does that. I still do it. It's because we're an excitable bunch, aren't we, the entrepreneurs and founders? So we try and do, and we think that we know everything. Pick your battles, figure out your blind spots, and don't try and do things that you might not be best placed to do. Instead, find people that can help you in those areas. And that would be it from my side.
Thank you very much, Visar. Ophir?
Thank you, guys. I just want to extend a little bit on what Visar was saying and just give you an example a little bit from what my experience is with entrepreneurs, people who have small companies, but even larger companies. We tend to want to do everything. And today is in this world with social media. We've got YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, and everybody wants to do everything. And I always, when I enter a consultation with clients, I always say, look, they said, we want to do Instagram. And I say, look, guys, what is your goal? Do you want to convert sales? Do you want to get orders? Because Instagram is not a transactional platform. If you want to have a transactional platform, you need to seek one that you know you'll get sales from. So it could be more in YouTube, it could be more on Facebook, but my advice is always to choose one, not everything. This is the first thing I wanted to highlight. And the second thing is choose it on the back of the knowledge of who is your actual audience. If you are selling a high ticket item for a very specific audience, it might be that TikTok is not exactly for you or Instagram is not exactly for you. So before you go and sort of blanket all the social media, because each and every one of them requires a huge effort to make it successful, choose the one you think will work best for you, and don't invest huge budget on everything before you know what's working. So I would go on the back of test to invest sort of strategy rather than doing everything. That's my first advice. My second advice would be on the back of how much you actually test, because a lot of my customers, when they start with, say, Google Ads, they want to spend £200-300 a day. And I say to them, look, guys, before we spend this kind of money, test it first. See what is your ROI. See what is your CTR. What is your click-through rate. How many people are converting. Test your landing pages. Do an A/B split. Test your ads. Don't spend £300 a day, which is 9-10 grand a month straight away before you know what's working for you. So my general advice on this is just a step-by-step approach and choose your channel wisely before you starting to spend the money.
That's some very good points from both of you, and I really appreciate that, gentlemen. We now have Pauline, who's one of the co-founders of our Startup of the Month. She's put a question in the chat room. Thinking about our well-being app Reggae Calm, what percentage of pitches would you say could result in subscriptions? That's a very good question, but I think it needs some meat to the bone, Pauline. So if you wouldn't mind, I've unmuted you. Can you test if your mic works? If you're able to talk?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please take it away. Introduce yourself, and then maybe provide a bit more detail in terms of what kind of pitches are we talking about here for the Reggae Calm app. The floor is yours, Pauline.
Yes. Hello there, panel. So I'm Pauline, and with my partner, Becca Leithleen, we've created this well-being app, Reggae Calm. So just to put it into perspective, we're not trying to compete with Headspace. We're not trying to compete with Calm, but we're more niche and looking at an underrepresented area, but could have global reach. Reggae music is a globally recognized brand, and we want to be part of that. So we're thinking of pitching and trying to get subscriptions, a bit like Calm and Headspace do. So you can subscribe and you pay via Apple Pay. And we thought we would start reaching out, say, via music festivals. The biggest one is in Spain, called Rototom Benicassim. Over 200,000 people attend every year. How many people would we need to reach out to as a percentage to try and get our first set of subscriptions?
Pauline, can I ask who is your audience? Who is your prime audience for the app?
Well, it's people who are stressed. It's people who are into reggae primarily.
Because you highlighted that it's a niche. It's more of a niche app. So do you have, when I'm referring to audience, I'd probably look at male, female, age, disposable income, because I don't know the pricing of your app, but is it compared with other apps? What is the monthly sort of subscription cost to it? And what sort of media they're likely to respond to. So if you're going to, if you are introducing the app to begin with to the event in Spain, am I correct?
Correct.
Can you hear me? What was your idea around reaching out to them? Is it through social media? Is it through a specific, because sometimes these events will have a database of the people who will attend the event. And I'm guessing, I wouldn't know the cost, but I'm guessing that this would be quite a direct way to get to, directly into the mailbox and getting them to at least know and have some sort of a brand awareness before you go in further.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
So a few questions. Who is your prime audience? What is, do the people who arrive to the event are these prime audience? Age group, male, female, disposable income. And I guess the last thing is how are you planning to reach out to them, and have you allocated any budget towards it?
Yeah, lots to think about.
yeah, sorry about that. Because very often you see, I'll give you an example from my own business. One of the businesses I own is a website that sells bathroom accessories, and we used to advertise in prints before we started digital. And we thought, our shower heads, which is one of the products we do, these are aerated shower heads that work on the basis of improving performance while saving water and energy. These products are for everybody, because everybody wants to use less water, get a full flow spa-like shower experience, and save energy and water and money. What we figured out is that the vast majority of our audience is actually people above the age of 55. So that really helped us to understand what sort of titles we need to use to sell to them, who is likely to buy our products. So, and say if the Daily Mail reader tend to be more affluent than the Sun readers, we'd go more to the Daily Mail, because our products would be a little bit more, there wouldn't be exactly an impulse purchase. So knowing and understanding your audience is really, really important. And it helps you to sort of narrow your efforts and just go speak exactly with the person you need to speak with, instead of sort of going open canvas and speak to everybody. So just to give you a little bit of, you could, I think Anton in the beginning of the call mentioned AI. You could go to AI, either DeepSeek or ChatGPT, and put a really detailed.
That was Visar.
I'm sorry. Sorry, this was Visar. Sorry, Visar.
Not that it matters, but it was Visar. But
sorry, Visar. Apologies.
That's a very good point of here in terms of really niching it down and drilling down your niche sort of audience, your customer persona. That is and I'm a fan, and we'll get to you in 1 second as well. I don't want to hijack the stage, but I'm a fan of this meme that was floating around a while ago, where they had two different customer personas. They had the age, the sex, the sort of background, and so on. And guess what? That explanation brought up two people: Prince Charles, back then, now King Charles, and Ozzy Osbourne. So they thought they had gone really niche. Really niche. I mean, you look at all the explanations there, you think, wow, this is such a niche market. And guess who were the two perfect candidates for that customer persona? Back then, Prince Charles and Ozzy Osbourne, which we all know they couldn't be any more different than these two individuals. But we'd love to hear what Visar got to say on this as well. Visar?
Cool, and yeah, no problem, Offer at all, man. So, Pauline, thanks for the explanation. It's pretty cool. I am a fan of wellness apps. I've got a couple of questions. So you mentioned that you're not competing with the mainstays in that field. And then you mentioned that it's mainly around that distinction is in terms of the people that you're targeting. So that is the difference between the two, and that's why you're not competing. What about the feature set, like the features of your app? Are there similarities between what you're doing and, let's sort of say, what Calm is doing?
Yes, in terms of meditation, we're different in terms of offering productivity soundscapes, which are around on YouTube, but they're certainly not reggae based.
Okay.
The pain relief is not really on the major platforms either.
Okay, cool. And okay, so you answered my second question, which is great, about what's actually different and what's the same. In terms of, you also mentioned you some data that backs up the fact around the that was in the video, I believe, that the beats of the reggae music are lower than the resting heart rate. Is there more stuff like that that's sort of scientifically backed, or do you have anyone of that background in your team to lend credibility or to lend some sort of scientific backing to some of the features that you have in terms of how they help these things like productivity, pain relief? Is there anything like that in your team or in your offering?
Well, we're in discussions with a major London university to work on those aspects for us, and they've actually started doing something in that field already, so it aligns well with that.
Okay.
And we're also looking to work with NHS offerings as well, and talking therapies and those sorts of specialisms to do with health.
Pretty cool, because people do respond well to that. And well, I mean, apart from the fact that it does improve the product too, obviously. One thing I would say, so in terms of answering your question around like sort of the effectiveness of your outreach, in terms of how many people do you need to reach in order to get your optimum number of people that that sign up or that download the app or that register interest, I guess. I'm not going to answer that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'll take a step back and again, like, see this quite often. That is one of the steps in a much bigger picture. So if you zoom out, if you take a bird's eye view of what you're building, and imagine what is but not the end point, but what are you working towards? What's the vision? What is the bigger vision? And what do you really want to achieve? It could be like sort of, you want to have like 1 million people feel better by 2030. This could be anything, right? I mean, whatever your vision, whatever your dreams are to achieve with the startup. And that should be every single thing that you do. Once you articulate that, once you work that out and articulate it, everything you do should be a step towards that direction. And this idea of the effectiveness of your ads or the effectiveness of your outreach and marketing, again, you could work with with someone like Ophir, you can work with a marketing company, you can work with someone like me. But that's quite a technical, tactical thing, right? That is a question that is part of a much bigger question as to, again, like what Ophir said, who is your audience? And understanding those things around like sort of, and I'll go a little bit, I would expand on what Ophir said in terms of understanding your age groups, understanding your demographics, understanding the locations, the geography of it, but also like sort of understanding tribes, understanding what, we live in different times in terms of people really can get behind a particular idea or a particular thing. And then they form these tribes, these communities. So really having an understanding of what are those tribes that are going to be interested in your product, and what is that kind of relationship between what you're building and what they care about. So I think that's quite an important thing to really work out as to who you're speaking to. And then all of these tactical things around like sort of, so then you're going to advertise to those people. Then you're going to start like sort of reach out to them in whatever way. And I thought that Ophir's suggestion to actually work with the festival is bang on. I said really sort of, it's a bit of a cheat code, isn't it? But so once you understand what your vision is, once you understand what those tribes, what those people that should care, should give their time and their money to your product, should care about your product. Once you understand these bigger things, then the actual tactical things of reaching out to them become infinitely easier, simpler. I guess in the sense, not necessarily easy at all. Actually, it's then it's a whole different sort of kettle of fish. But getting the bigger picture sort of sorted out, understanding the vision, understanding the people involved, and then working out how to speak to them are going to be like the rough steps that I would take if I was you.
Thank you very much to both of you. And I'll give you, just before I pass it back again to Ophir and Sarah, I'll give you my quick 2 pence on that. I really like the idea to really go niche on this, and as Ophir started, Pauline. And what I would actually try and figure out in terms of that niching down is you've got to think in terms of deciding who your customer persona is, somebody that will end up using this. And if for any reason you stop, i.e., this app just falls out of existence, it would make their life harder. Think of that. Who is going to be one person that will be absolutely gutted if, for whatever reason, your app disappeared? They will be your customer persona. That's number one. Once you've niched that down, again, going back on Ophir's idea to work with the festival, there's a couple of things you might want to think about here. One, if you are going to actually sell the app rather than just get people to download it for free, if you're going to sell, speak to the festival and try and work out a way to give them a share, a decent share of the revenue there. If your app is a freemium to start with, then you're going to need to find a way to maybe spend some money and pay the festival to spread the word. When you're there, have people with t-shirts, especially have people with the QR code that people can download. But something similar, go back to your question, and again, I know it's not the same thing, but I used to be involved with a few photography studios in London. And whenever I used to send our salespeople out and about to these events, I personally used to work on a 5% success rate. And when that happened, I was happy. I.e., when I say 5%, is 5% of the people that our sales guys and girls spoke to end up getting the vouchers that we were giving them out to come and do a sort of almost like a day of pampering, photography and all that stuff. Ophir, did you want to add anything?
I was just thinking on the back of what Visar was saying as well, regarding the events. I don't know how the structure of this event, but Pauline, I was wondering if they will have some sort of a sponsor possibility or even a stand, like a small booth, because you are talking to a very captive audience there at the event. And maybe if you have, a small booth where you can either give the app for free for the first 14 days or for the first week, and just get people to at least begin to understand that something like this exists. This could be just kind of really nice and soft launch, soft introduction, and you could do quite a lot of learning out of it. This is one thing I wanted to highlight. And the other thing, on the back of your questions on how many, repetitions people need until they buy something. Have you heard of the 7 touch points, Pauline?
I haven't, no.
So the 7 touch points is an interesting, I'm sure Visa has heard about it. It's from the film industries, I think in the 1930s, back in the US. They were trying to understand how many times a prospect really needs to see something in order to eventually take a decision to maybe buy something. And they came up with, look it online, it's the 7 touch points from the film industry in the US. And they came up with a number of 7. And what they've realized, they were trying to sell tickets to new films. And they've realized that a person will need to see a promotion around an event 7 times before they make a decision to buy a ticket or to do something about it. And it could be through, back in the day, billboards or radio stations or TV, or even a word of mouth. But we've calculated that it's sort of 7 touch points before somebody is deciding to take an action. Now, in our world, we know that we have something we call innovators and early adopters. It's this part of our audience that are the first people to say, ah, I like this product, I'm going to buy it. They're kind of like very impulse people. And it could be quite interesting because if you calculate that after 7 engagements, your average customer is likely to do something about it, this is your sort of ballpark of how many times they'll have to see you in repetition, your product in repetition. So I just want to highlight, it's not exact science, but I just want to highlight to you so that you can have an idea after how many times of prospects seeing your product or your app, after how many times they're likely to do something about it. Maybe answering the first question you've raised.
That's great.
Thank you very much. Yes, Pauline, sorry.
No, I was just saying that that's really great advice, and borrowing from the film industry in terms of customer psychology. No, they're all very useful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can I
It's
just add actually one thing? Sorry.
Sorry, Visa, you go ahead.
No, finish up, dude. I'll go after.
I just think that sometimes if we think about ourselves, let's say we are, I don't know, I like to do sports or I like to run, and when I see a new product, I don't always buy it straight away. Some of my friends will see something and think, oh, that looks nice. Do I need sport shoes? New sport shoes? Not really, but I like the design. I like it. It's not too expensive. I'm going to buy it straight away. Whereas others will say, no, we're going to wait. Maybe there'll be a promotion at the end of the year, or maybe, I just bought a new running shoes. But if you think about yourselves and the way you behave when you see something new and how long it takes you to buy, you might be somebody who buys straight away. You might be somebody who would like to wait and see, and speak to a friend who bought something similar and try to get an advice from them. But people are very, very different in the way they make decisions and in the way they form habits. So I guess it's between 1 to 7, but it could be also between 1 to 20, until people actually decide to do it. And this is why nowadays the Meta gives you a really interesting ways of actually targeting audiences on your campaign. And you can go for age group, you can go for obviously gender, you can go for disposable income, and you can even go by locations, by cities. Sometimes you can go by streets. And it'll be interesting to see if there is some sort of like where would and I don't know if there'll be a clear answer to this, but where would the people who love reggae, do they live in specific areas or they follow specific groups? And I think on Facebook you can also choose specific people, and on the back of this do a campaign to target an audience that love reggae as well. So nowadays it's very clever. So you could test things fairly quickly and inexpensively, or maybe an ABC split test, and and just check the results you have. And because what is the price point of the app?
Well, we're looking to compare to the ones available at the moment as we develop it, around $6.99 a month.
So it's like it's a complete impulse purchase because it's under they say nowadays $19.95. Some people say $14.95. But if it's under £10, most people will probably spend it without thinking too much about it, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And you could test it and quickly see what is the response. Because it's not what we call a considered purchase. If you tell me, you know what, it's like, you see Netflix, we have Netflix here at home, and I think I saw a bill the other day for $17.95, and I'm thinking, hold on a second, that's gone up from like £12, £14, now it's £18. It's beginning to be like, a monthly expense. Now, will I stop it? Probably not, because the kids will kill me. but I'm thinking, hold on a second. The way I look at it, because I own a business, I always think about it as an annual expense. So I'm thinking £18 a month. that's like, give or take £200 a year. That's a lot of money. So do I keep it? Do I not keeping it? But at £6.95 or at £7, you're talking about £80 a year, and maybe some of these apps giving discounts. And if somebody buys for the whole year, they can get it for maybe 10 or 15% discount or something. And you could actually split the direction to two separate landing pages. One offers, $6.95, and the other one is offering, an annual subscription for $59.95 or $64.95.
Yep.
And just see how it goes. And because it's not that much expensive, you could learn fairly quickly.
That's super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Ophir. Visar, did you want to add anything to this, or shall we move on to the next one?
Just super quickly, just building on Ophir's idea to have a place at the festival again. You could have a tent. You could have a place where you basically run these sessions and show these benefits to people. So you're not sort of saying, oh, come and download my app and you get a discount. Instead, you're saying, come here and experience what this does to you, type thing. So you get a first-hand experience of your app in a live setting. You could also potentially target the other side of the stage. So you could even maybe get some of the performers. So it could be a two-pronged thing where you attract your community. You start building your community and showcase the benefits, but also you might get a couple of backers that could really amplify your message, that could get the message of your app to their fans because they might love it. And the mission of improving mental health is a great one. It's a huge problem. So something to think about, but just a little build on Ophir's idea. Good luck.
Great.
That is brilliant. And actually, I would go even further, use that to reach out to reggae DJs in the UK and elsewhere to try and find a way to maybe share profits of that app. Go out there, get in touch with each and every reggae DJ that you can find and just say, look, just mention it, shout out, have a QR code by your DJ booth. And if anybody downloads from that QR code, because it's easy to see who they downloaded it from, then they get a percentage of that. So find a way to do that. But for this festival, I really want to hammer down on the idea that you need, on top of the tent and the artists that Visar mentioned, going back to what Ophir said, find a way to get access to their database, the organizer's database, and just say, will you share our app? And you'll get however you agree to pay them, basically.
Really creative ideas. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good stuff, Orleen. Best of luck. Now, we only have 16 minutes left, so these new questions, we're going to need to kind of tighten our answers a little bit. But just a reminder, for those of you, I can see a few messages beeping up from LinkedIn and a few of the other platforms that we're live streaming. Unfortunately, we're unable to monitor your questions there live. So if you do have any questions, you need to join us here interactively, live audio, and it's audio only, so you don't need to spend an hour doing your hair to be on our call with us. And it's very simple. You either click on the link that you see on those live streams. If not, go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. Look for today's session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 136. There, you need to click join, quick registration. You'll get an email with the link, and then you join us here on Microsoft Teams. Today, we're helping startups grow from zero to hero, really. So if you've got any questions, whether that's user, client, vendor, or partner acquisition, growth hacks, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, or go-to-market partnerships, this is the place to be, and these are the people to ask. If and when you make it to our Microsoft Teams call, you just need to type your question in the chat, and then I will give you the mic. I see Ophir and Visar. Yep, no, if you don't mind, guys, if you want to type your LinkedIn URL in the chat here, because this chat will be visible even after the event, and that's for future listeners to maybe find you. Please feel free to do so. On the other hand, if your questions for the listeners is not on growth, please save them for the other rooms we run. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of the month it's UK startup law, and third Friday of the month it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and they are well, you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startup to ScaleUp.club. And also, you might want to join our WhatsApp group and be part of the community. There's a WhatsApp icon at the top and bottom of the screen there. Now, without further ado, let's go to some questions that were sent in. With these, we'll try and spend less time, so maybe about a minute each, if that's okay. I'll read it out loud for the people that are tuning in via the live streams that you can't read this message in the chat right now. So this, and by the way, this sign off here, if you want to have a look at it, you can. So this is from a pre-seed AI for retail demand forecasting. It's a university spin out of a uni in Scotland. She says, our AI platform for retail demand forecasting has demonstrated success in small-scale academic pilots, but lacks broader market validation. How can we transition to full-scale proof of concept by collaborating with early industry adopters, co-publishing case studies that showcase measurable results, and conducting pilot programs tied to specific ROI metrics? Additionally, how can we use early customer testimonials to position ourselves, as an essential solution in the retail industry? So it's academia, it's a uni spin. And the question, I guess this is a three-part question. Number one, how to transition to proof of concept from academia. Number two, what can they use to showcase results? And number three, how can they get customer testimonials? So let's start with Visar, and then we'll go on to Ophir. Your minute of glory starts now, Visar.
Okay, I mean, Offer is probably better placed because of the types of the business. But what I would say, something like this, it would be, if it was me, I think you either, as you sort of say, you go and find you take a step back, first of all. Again, you do a bit of analysis of the market that you're targeting, get some intel so you can really identify who is your prime client, who would be the people that would really benefit from this, and this would solve a problem for them. And then so you can be much more like sort of focused in terms of who you reach out to. That'd be step number one. If you can't find people that will take this on, and if this is a really good product, then I don't see how you wouldn't be able to take this on, because increasing effectiveness, increasing margin is it's a huge game for obviously any kind of retail shop, considering the types of margins they work with. So anyway, product is good. If product is good, you shouldn't have an issue getting someone to actually test it out. The other two questions are kind of linked to it a little bit. One thing I would say in terms of if you can't find someone that wants to test your product, these days it's not massively difficult to start a t-shirt business. I don't know, like Shopify. Do it yourself, build a little business and see what you can kind of achieve with it. That's kind of like a fallback plan, I guess, if no one's going to buy your product and you really believe in it and you think that you need to continue to develop it in order for it to have to be more attractive, I guess, for bigger companies. In terms of getting testimonials, well, you got to get the clients first, I guess, and then because they need to be true and real. So I think I wouldn't have much to add to the other two questions. But yeah, I mean that's all I can think of for now.
Here, thank you very much, Visar. Ophir, your minute of glory starts now, buddy.
Thank you very much. I actually worked with a company in the past, and they were trying to get retailers on board for something completely different. It's interesting. Retailers, specifically perhaps large ones, are very reluctant in the beginning to take on new things, and it's not an easy sell. What I'd recommend you to start with is to probably approach small chains, small shops, maybe companies who have like up to 6 branches, approach them, explain to them about the concept. This is how you can also speak to decision makers, because once you start to approach larger companies, larger retailers, the process of them making a decision and even showing it to their teams and boards and whatever you, and start to act on things is very, very slow. So it might take you months to get them to do something about it. Whereas if you even if you approach people around the areas where the university is, small retail shops, but chains, and expose them to the concept, you might get quite a quick result. And once you've got the case studies, then it's easier to roll it out to the bigger boys. That's my 2 cents.
No, that's very good. Thank you very much for that, Ophir, and both of you, actually. Some very good points there. Now, we've got another question that was sent in. Now, as some of you know that are regulars, I'm not the biggest fan of these questions sent in because we don't have you here to kind of ask follow-ups and kind of really drill down. But nevertheless, we'll go through them. So this is a femtech in Manchester, they're pre-seed. And she says the problem we're trying to solve is that we're a telehealth platform focusing on women's reproductive health. The challenge we have is overcoming stigma and attracting users to the platform. So my question is, our telehealth platform focuses on women's reproductive health, but overcoming stigma has been a barrier. What marketing strategies can we implement to raise awareness and normalize discussions around health? Should we collaborate with influencers or health advocates to promote the platform and share success stories? The question is in the chat as well, Visar and Ophir, if you want to relate to it as you give your answers. But let's start with Ophir now, and then we go to Visar. And again, let's try to keep it about a minute, please, fellas.
In such case where there's like a market stigma around a specific product or service, the first point of call that I would look at is maybe recruit somebody who is a public figure, who would agree to work with you on this. And this is providing some kind of social proof. If this person says that this platform is good, then it's okay. And this would be my first line. I think influencers is good, but it depends which channel you choose. And influencers, sometimes it's a bit of a hit and miss. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But a public figure who could maybe help you to get behind the product, this would be my first point of call.
Thank you very much, Visar.
I don't have much to add or be quite specific with it because I don't have any experience in that field or in any kind of fields around it. But one thing I would say is, again, just this whole thing of, the stigma part, that is obviously, as Ofer said, that is part of the bigger story. And again, like sort of, we see this so often with startups. Take a step back, zoom out, figure out what is the bigger picture. What are you trying to achieve? Who are the people that you're speaking to? Stigma is one of the issues that is around this particular thing that you're doing. Get a congruent view of everything, and then try and figure out who are the best people that can help you figure that out. Everything becomes much easier once there's clarity around vision and when you're heading. Sorry, I couldn't be more specific.
Anton, I just wanted to add to Visar's comments, which I think is very useful. When I was talking about a public figure, I'm talking about basically a celebrity, a female celebrity, I'm guessing, that could get behind the concept and help you out.
To turn your weakness into a strength. I love that. That's, in this case, you can actually, stigma could become a thing that was trying to break. So yeah,
exactly.
It's spot on.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you. And our last question for the day. Again, this is one of the questions that were sent into us This is a seed stage fintech for freelancers. They're based in Leeds because they're planning to expand in London as well. We're not quite sure about. Then she goes on to say, a freelancer focused fintech app has strong sign-ups for its free tier. Churn is high due to limited migration to paid plans. What growth hacking techniques such as usage-based premium upgrades, their specific behavioral nudges based on app activity, could you encourage free tier to users to perhaps convert to paid subscriptions whilst improving retention? And again, I'll put that question in the chat if you want to relate to it. So maybe we can start. I think this time could be Visar and then Ophir. Please take it away, fellas. Visar? Okay, do you want to go ahead, Ophir? Want to go first?
I want to go ahead, but I'm not sure. I'm quite following the question. Can you shed some light, Anton? What are they asking?
Yeah, I'll try and read it again. So she says we're a seed stage fintech for freelance. And she's put in brackets with relevant that they're planning to, or they're thinking to also add an office in London. And then she goes on to say, our freelancer focused fintech sign-ups for free tier. The churn is high due to limited migration to paid plans. What growth hacking techniques, such as usage-based premium upgrades, tier specific behavioral nudges based on app activity, could encourage free tier users to convert paid subscriptions whilst improving retention? So I'm guessing, based on this question, is it's a two-tier question. Number one, how do we get people to go from the freemium to the paid version? Two, how do we those that end up paying the paid version to actually stay and pay? I don't know whether
Right.
those stages also. Number one, how to turn people from free to paid, and number two, how to make sure that those that pay ones keep paying every season.
Now I understand. There's a couple of things here that we could look at. The first one would be reviews. So if you can get the current people, the people who have actually upgraded to go on the paid plan, and to share their experience, as in a testimonial of what had happened to their freelance business once they have signed up and started to pay the monthly fees, and what sort of opportunity this had opened up for them. It could be that the free version gives them a limited opportunity, but if you sign up to the paid one, you'd be exposed to many more opportunities, and you should shout about it and highlight it and speak about it more frequently. And when you are featuring the testimonial, ideally with a picture of the person who is talking about their experience, how did it help, and how did it help them to grow their own practice. So that would be my first advice. And the second one, with regards to making sure they are staying on the paid platform, this really depends on how successful their experience is. If their experience is successful, then they will not want to miss out on future revenue. If their experience is less successful, it'll be good to understand why and what you could do to improve their experiences.
Thank you very much, Visar.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm having some issues with my phone. Yeah, I mean, it's, to be honest, not a huge amount more to add to what Ofer was saying. This is not a growth question; it's a retention question, isn't it? This is about how do you make your offering more sticky. One thing I would say is if your churn is really high, then that means that the experience they have, and again, building on what Offer said, the experience they have during their free period or using the features that are free means that it's not sticky enough for them to hang around. I think what you should do in the minute that we have, I mean, this is probably, it needs a little bit more time than that, but what I would do, have a look at video games. More specifically, have a look at mobile games. This is a well-trodden path. You just need to do a bit of research to find out as to what kind of strategies and what kind of tactics do video games use to basically get people to spend money or go into paid plans or go into battle passes when they are essentially free games like Fortnite and Clash of Clans and so on and so forth, because they will play on the similar sort of psychological areas. So I think there's a huge amount of really useful information out there in the video game space that might be useful for the problem that you're facing. But I do think it's more of a product user experience and stickiness question rather than a growth one.
We haven't got much time. Thank you very much to both of you for this. We haven't got much time, but I couldn't help thinking, what if these guys actually changed the entire model? Rather than have people just use the freemium, why not have free trials instead? So you use it for a month. After that, you can't use it anymore. That, what I would do is rather than just have one premium, I don't know, whether it's £60 or £6, rather than have one, maybe have 2 or 3 cards. Let's say you get 10 features, or maybe you get 3 months, however they want to do it, per feature or per time length, and say 10 will cost you £5, 5 will cost you £15, and 3 will cost you £10. That way you kind of steer them to one of the tiers that makes more sense and works for both sides. A yes or a no would kind of suffice. Visar or Fear, what's your input on that? What's your thoughts?
I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think we would need much more time for this. It could, at this point, you know what it is? It really requires a huge amount of A/B testing. You know, because they've got a product and they've got loads of people visiting the product, but they're disappearing, they're churning, right? So, which means that the attractiveness is there, the consideration is there, but the stickiness isn't it. So, yeah, I mean, that's the hell out of it until we figure out what works.
Good enough to be worth the money to pay. Fair
Exactly.
One thing to add to this, guys, just a thought, is that, you know, sometimes the old-fashioned ways of just picking up the phone to people and saying, hey, guys, we are from this and this company. We've noticed that you dropped from the app. Can you help us? Can you give us some advice? Because we are sort of building a business. And how was your experience? What did you think of it? You know, and where can we improve? And I think that when you come in with this sort of angle, can we please have your advice? It's kind of give the other person the sensation that, hey, they're asking for my advice. I can help. And most people would love to help.
Yep. All right, that makes sense, and that's a very good point. We are now 4 minutes over the line, so I'm going to let these two gentlemen go. But if you want, before you go, you're more than welcome to give us any parting words. I don't know who wants to go first. I think Ophir is unmuted, so you go first, Ophir.
I really enjoyed it. It's not often that it's kind of strange without seeing faces, but and some of the questions make you think and make you think quickly. And you know, businesses have so much more. And before you give like a good answer, you really need to have a thought process and to understand the business. So sometimes the answer are like more of a, you know, the straight thing that comes to mind, but it's not the only answer. But thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Visar, it's really nice to meet with you, and Anton as well. And yeah, I had a good experience. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Ophir, and I'll give an explanation quickly after Visar's parting words on those things that you mentioned, because they're very important. Visar?
Yeah, likewise, Offer. That's been great, man. So yeah, I mean, not a huge amount to add. I think just the fact that there's people here that are basically asking questions and trying sort of trying to sort of better their products and trying to sort of advance their startups and their ideas is enough. One thing I would say is think about whether you're doing enough, because there's always someone that's doing 10 times more, maybe. So you should really think about, because we generally have way more capacity than we think we do, especially in the age of that we live in, with all the tools and at our disposal and the knowledge. So try and multiply your efforts. But yeah, it's really great being here. It's quite inspiring, actually.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Ophir, two quick questions. Number one, we do this audio because I really want people to be able to join us, whether they're walking their dog in Surrey, changing their baby's nappies in Glasgow, or cooking lunch in Liverpool. I really want people to be able to join at whatever they're doing. And number two, I call this startup comedy because, as both of you know, you've been there, you've done it. More often than not, startup founders will not have the luxury to really think about things and pause and do research, but often you have to literally think on your feet and make a decision whether you turn left, right, go straight, or just stop. So that's why some of these questions that I put in, I never give them beforehand, although some of them were sent maybe, I don't know, last week or whatever, but I'm trying in my head to replicate kind of a startup world on steroids, where we have to think on our feet. And the reason why I only go to people like you and Visar rather than your gurus and coaches and consultants, I only go to people who've been there and done it themselves, is that hopefully these questions, whether they're live from the people in or from the freeloaders that just send questions and can't be bothered to be here, I want you guys to be able to literally just think on your feet, because that is, in my view, the best way to give answers based on your experience, rather than what you can read somewhere or on a research that you do on Google, etc. I hope that makes sense.
Completely. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to everyone that tuned in. Those of you that did it via our live streams, those of you obviously that were here live, and just two quick reminders. Number one, we run 6 regular events: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of the month UK startup law, and third Friday of the month UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site startup-to-scaleup.club. When you're there, you may also want to join our WhatsApp group and be part of the community. There's an icon on top and bottom of the site that you can do that. Second announcement is that we are now live with our Startup of the Month competition, where one lucky winner will be featured in all our events in April. I think there's 12 or 13 of them, and hopefully give you exposure to potential co-founders, collaborators, investors, clients, and all that jazz. Now, tomorrow it's our startup fundraising Q&A. We have 5 brilliant, quite well-known investors that will be joining us, so hopefully you might want to tune in for that too. As far as my parting words are concerned, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime, and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, huge thanks to Visar and Ophir, especially today. I'm sorry I've kept you now 10 minutes over the line, fellas, but I really appreciate your time. As for the rest of you, have a great afternoon. God bless you all, and see you tomorrow for Startup Fundraising Q&A. Bye-bye for now.